Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no! Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! You fuck around and find out it's what it is! Jeffrey Pretty was a Jewish homo. Started talking shit to protect a chomo. He was getting nicked when he pulled a gun. Bam, motherfucker, now you're gone! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! Fuck around and find out what that is!
Hey guys, welcome to the broadcast. We're going to do a little experimenting on each other. I'm the doctor. No, we're going to do a little bit of experimenting on each other, guys. And we're going to do a real-time thought experiment. And I'll tell you how this came about. I was going to cover a completely different topic. I was going to do a deep dive for you to understand the Fed, how it works, why it's important, how it's controversial. And of course, you know, President Trump just did a change at the Fed. And then, of course, you know, there was another assassination attempt on President Trump, and on and on and on and on. And so I was going to literally give you kind of the true facts of the Fed, and I'll still do that program. But I noticed something trending when I sat down to do show prep. And I thought, what if we decided to do basically what equates to a real-time fact check? You know, fact check was introduced to suppress truth because it was slanted towards the media and stuff, and it wasn't really digging for the truth. It just needed some odd blog to contradict it, and that's what they would said, discounted it, why it wouldn't be true. But what if it was really used for something good? The question is, and put this in chat, have you ever taken the time in real time, you've read something, you've seen something, you've been presented something, to fact check it? Right? Have you ever? Have you ever just, okay, look down, do a fact check, is this real? Or do a gut check on something, right? I want to see if this is really real or really true. I think it becomes a very helpful tool in it, because I think a lot in our life, we're wagged by the tail. And so that's what we're going to do an interesting real-time study on. I'm going to show you a video. We'll fact check it as long as you want to fact check it. And we're just going to kind of play it in real time and do a fact check. So share this program right now, because we're going to have some interesting fact-checking exercises, which I actually think, by the way, not only might you like, but you might actually learn something too. Let's get ready. We'll get started in a couple minutes right after this.
Here's what is inside the pharmacy. Grow Soil Bible.
By the way, I'm going to show you this here, because probably by tomorrow, from the time you see this broadcast, our next book in our series will be available. So let me give you a heads up what this is, but I'm going to go ahead and show it to you so you can get ready, and then I'll send you the link.
Here's what is inside the pharmacy. Grow Soil Bible. Beautiful gardens, bountiful harvests, and homesteading abundant black gold. For too long, modern agriculture has poisoned the very ground beneath our feet. Synthetic NPK fertilizers delivered bigger yields at a devastating cost. They wiped out the teeming microbial life that once made soil rich, alive, and endlessly productive, trapping us in a cycle of chemical dependence and dying farmland. Now is the time to fight back. The Grow Soil Bible takes you on a powerful journey back to the ancient wisdom that created the world's most fertile soils. Discover the secrets of Amazonian terra preta, also called black gold, born from biochar, fish bones, compost, and microbial magic. Master the art of Chinese green tea composting and Japanese bokashi to transform kitchen scraps and yard waste into living, breathing super soil. Whether you're a backyard gardener, passionate homesteader, or family determined to build real food security, this book gives you everything you need. Step-by-step instructions, precise natural ingredients lists, and proven techniques to grow your own ultra-fertile dirt instead of buying dead bags from the store. Become a true dirt farmer. Revive the microorganisms that power life. Break free from synthetic slavery and slow chemical suicide, and create abundant, nutrient-dense harvests that feed your family for generations. Your garden, your orchard, your future. It all starts with the soil. Reclaim the earth. Grow your own black gold.
Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence.
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, guys, part of this culture, race, and American politics, we're going to do a real-time fact-checking. It's not going to be like we're fact-checking, quote-unquote, the media, the traditional media. I want to fact-check something that just popped up and is trending now, etc. And I kind of decided this spontaneously. By the way, if you're looking at my eye, remember, I'm involved in farming and ranching. And very funny story. Early yesterday morning, very early, heard some of the guard dogs going off. I'm up while it's still dark, come outside, a little bit of daylight, and I'm looking across the front and looking at a very large pond, and there's this dark, slumped figure setting on the side of the pond. And I thought to myself, what the hell is that? Right? Because the guard dogs aren't going to go off unless something's there that's not supposed to be there. Come to find out, there was a beaver in my pond. Now, the very, very first thing I thought is, how the hell did she get out of my unlocked and get out of my red room? Sorry, wrong beaver. Beaver in the pond. Now, this is really rare for a beaver to be really close to the home. You know, you're only talking a driveway's distance to a very large pond. And so what I had to do is it kind of drove me nuts. I basically walked the land trying to figure out, where the hell did this damn beaver come from, right? And so it forced me to walk through some rye fields because the rye's really up. And walking on the edge of, you know, the rivers and rye fields and stuff like that, I was checking the rye grain. I am allergic to it. I stuck my finger in my eye inadvertently. So you're watching me trying hard not to itch my eyeball from the backside with an allergic reaction in the eye. So I got rye in the eye. Yep, rye in the eye. But they're not damming anything up. That's what, you know, a beaver can be pretty dangerous, by the way. You get close to a beaver and there's a family there, right? And no, it's not beaver goo in my eye, but, you know, a beaver, they're going to take out your knees right away. And you know, a beaver's going to kill you. Most people don't know that. You get close to that damn beaver, they'll slap their tail on the water to warn you if they've got little ones around. Otherwise, they just won't give a crap about you, right? They'll just hide under the water. But if you ever get stuck where you're right with the beaver, they're going to come at you and they're going to kill you. And here's how they're going to kill you. They are going to bite in directly behind your kneecap, your knee, or your ankle, and they're going to rip out your blood vein, and you are going to bleed to death before you can stop it. Beavers, angry beavers, double entendre there, are not to be messed with. But they will kill you deader than a doornail. And when you realize they can even chew the hardest of oak, they're going to snap right through that bone, ligament, and everything. And you're going to bleed out. So lesson, don't screw with pissed off beaver. And that applies to a lot of aspects of your life. Okay, let me tell you what we're going to do here. And by the way, today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. Here's what I'm asking you to do. I'm just asking you to please go to jovanlovesgold.com. I just want you to request your free gold and silver kit today, because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. Truly. If you have not taken the time to understand why it's important, especially when we're going to end up going to a digital economy, remember, I told you here, it's going to need something you got to get on your radar. And by the way, I'm going to have a guest on, an author, a PR person reached out to me and says, I got an expert on data centers and, you know, how everything's going to be coded and digital and everything else. So I'm going to interview somebody on their take on data centers. You might find it to be enlightening. I think everybody needs to know all the real scoop on data centers. So that'll be coming up pretty soon. Okay. Let me show you the tweet that did it for me. There was a tweet here. Actually, Dean Cain tweeted it. And JP, the comedian, is his name JP Sears, released a video, which it's a kind of a tongue-in-cheek attempt at comedy, and he's interviewing a pastor. The headline on the tweet says, Zionism is absolutely amazing. It's banned speech to say otherwise. Here's what happens when a Zionist goes up against an anti-Zionist Christian. Now, the person he's interviewing is Josh Whedon. Well, excuse me, not Josh, but Joel Whedon. He is the founder of Right Response Ministries. a senior pastor at Covenant Bible Church in Austin, Texas. He is known as what's called a Christian nationalist, which is fine. But basically, he has theonomy influenced views that basically say, here it is, only by the Bible, that's it. And in that, he has strong criticism of modern Israel, Zionism, and what he calls excessive Judeo-Christian influence in Christianity. Now, his view on it is that no, God didn't promise the people of Israel, and that doesn't fulfill a biblical prophecy. That's not what it is. He basically says that the Abraham covenant, right, that both Jews and Muslims descend from it, but Israel is not biblical Israel, and that when the destruction of the temple happened in 70 AD, that changed everything. God said basically, to hell with the Jews, and now you got to focus on the church. And his quote is, I hate Judaism, but I love the Jews. Okay, so that's the person you're going to see on the screen. And I thought, you know what? This would be a really, really interesting thought experiment. Now, what do I mean by a thought experiment? That means literally, let's listen, see what we can learn. But the only difference is, as a claim is made, take the literal claim and check it as many ways possible that you can. Now, I'm going to play just a little short clip, and you're going to see a bunch of claims go boop, 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 boop. Then we're going to back up, okay? And we're going to fact check the claim. Now, this is something I highly recommend you do. You fact check everybody. You fact check me. It does not matter who you love or you adore or you trust. Okay? Fact check, period. Because see, here's the difference. You need to trust yourself, and you need to trust that anything that you're going to stand and fight for, anything that you're willing to put your life on the line for, anything you're willing to pass to your kids, your babies, or whatever, you fact check. Because you want to be true and accurate. Now, if you don't have a standard in your life of absolute fact checking, you're going to pass that to your kids, you're going to pass it to your grandbabies, etc. And by the way, you're going to statistically pass around bad information. And there's bad information on all sides. And so what you have to do is you have to fact check. Period. You have to fact check. Or else you're being led blind and you are adopting in your own thought patterns truths that are based only on what somebody told you. Now, I think in the modern age, that's dangerous. Right? But it's always been the way mankind has been destroyed. And I told you this before, but if you're new to my broadcast, I'll tell it again. The reason during the dark ages had nothing to do with the sun not shining, had to do with nobody was allowed to read or write or have books. It was outlawed. All of the books, the reading and writing were outlawed by the church. It's also why the church for years only spoke in the Latin Vulgate. Because common people didn't know that language. And so they wrote it in that language, knowing common people couldn't read it, and therefore it forced you to focus on the church and the church leaders as, what does this really say? And it adds to the mysticism of it. Well, frankly, we're past that, and more than now than ever, we have access to information. But it is the way the world has been controlled for a very long time. And on the ancient maps during the Middle Ages, when you, all the legend and lore about if you go through, right through Spain and North Africa, it's called the Pillar of Hercules, or it as the Gate of Gibraltar. They always had on maps monsters and boogeymans and sea demons and stuff all around it and out there, like you're going through a minefield. Now, why do they do that? Even though people couldn't read, they put the symbology on the maps. If you ventured out those gates, you're going to get eaten by sea monsters. Now, why did they do that? Because they didn't want you venturing out on those gates. If you dared to build a ship or go out to find your fortune, which they knew you would find, where there were no rulers, you could get the land, get the minerals, get the timbers, kind of like living off the grid today, you know, becoming a homesteader. They didn't want you to do that. So they had to convince you there's a kraken out there, right? That you'd get eaten. And again, that's how they kept people suppressed. That's how they kept exploration suppressed. Now, a lot of people do not know that that goes back to biblical history, because archaeology and academia and that part of the world for a very long time denied the existence of both King David and King Solomon. And even in the Bible, it tells you a lot of the ancient wealths that came to the Middle East came from Mur, the ancient world. Well, that Mur, as I tell you, is actually North America. They didn't want you to go out there and discover your fortunes and become rich and come back as a king and take over their land. So they had to keep people from sailing. So in that context, we're going to do a modern day fact checking as if we don't believe anything that's said, and we're just going to check it. So without further ado, I'm going to share a video file with you. I'm going to let the first few minutes play so you kind of got a flavor of it. And then once you kind of get a flavor of what the interview is, and hang on, folks, let me find it on my damn computer now. Here it is. Then we're just going to kind of go line by line. If we were a society that fact check, what would we find?
Evening with the offing
And this is the video we're going to do. This is the video we're going to do it with.
Of children, killing of journalists, genocide, the takeover of the U.S. government by... Good evening. With the offing of children, killing of journalists, genocide, the takeover of the U.S. government by Israel, all in the name of Zionism, it is clear we need more Zionism. Christian Zionists, Jewish Zionists, whatever, we need more of it. However, for some reason, there's opposition to Zionism growing in our country. And I'm joined today by one of those Zionist skeptics so that we can learn how the mind of a hateful person works. Christian pastor Joel Webbin. Joel, do you even believe in God?
As a matter of fact, I do. I don't just believe in God, I love God.
Do you worship Israel?
No, I do not. And I also don't think that we should be giving unwavering support to a corrupt country that cares more about their interests than ours.
Government run by Netanyahu, God's favorite chosen person, corruption trial notwithstanding. So why not give...
Now, the first question I have to ask you, put it in chat. Is there any type of setup going on to get your mind in a particular state of mind for this? Do you think there's messaging in Israel and blood? Click the wrong one. Israel and blood on the shirt and all this other stuff with it? Okay. There's no reason to have blood on the shirt or anything, but you get it. Right? That's one of the first things I saw. But I know that JP, as reports go, gets paid for this because a lot of people follow him. Now, there's a lot of key words in it we're going to kind of unpack, but then I'm going to get to the pastor. Like, do you worship God? Yes. Do you worship Israel? Right? It's all key. It's all keywording. Right? With it. So I'm going to play the beginning, and this is a comedian's take of what they think is funny, but we're going to fact check it in real time. I find it interesting that the pastor says, and they care more about their country, and they put their country first before ours. Now, this is supposed to be a big MAGA pastor. And it's supposed to be, we put United States of America first, and his complaint is they put their country first before ours. But anyway, let's just watch that beginning again, and then we're going to go with each of the questions or each of the points that he makes and see where we go with it. And I'll be stopping it intermittently as we go on this journey together. Here we go again.
Good evening. With the offing of children, killing of journalists, genocide, the takeover of the U.S. government.
With the offing of children, genocide, offing of journalists, and the takeover. Now, again, any setup in that?
Government by Israel, all in the name of Zionism. It is clear we need more Zionism. Christian Zionists, Jewish Zionists, whatever. We need more of it. However, for some reason, there's opposition to Zionism growing in our country.
Now, what he did is he put in your head his definition of Zionism using the comedic angle of why would you be opposed to this?
And I'm joined today by one of those Zionist skeptics so that we can learn how the mind of a hateful person works.
Let's learn how the mind of a hateful person works. Okay, again, juxtaposition. I understand the psychology here.
Christian pastor Joel Webbin. Joel, do you even believe in God?
As a matter of fact, I do. I don't just believe in God, I love God.
Do you worship Israel?
No.
Now, obviously, you see how interviews can be steered a certain direction. Do you even believe in God? Of course, he's a pastor. Obviously, it comes with the territory. Do you worship Israel? Do you see the setup? Again, there's a lot of psychological seeding in this script they prepared for JP to read. Let's keep on.
I do not, and I also don't think that we should be giving unwavering support to a corrupt country that cares more about their interests than ours.
Okay. A corrupt country that cares more about their interests than ours. And so that's the premise tone we're going to sit here. We're going to see what are the facts when this pastor, I've never met JP. I've never met Pastor Webbin or any of the at all, even though I used to be an Austin resident. Don't know. I find it ironic that a Christian pastor is basically saying, get rid of Israel and stuff, but we're just going to use this as a bar to see, okay, what if we really did, even in our own circles, what if we fact-checked things, right? What if we actually fact-check things, okay?
Government run by Netanyahu, God's favorite. Israel?
No, I do not. And I also don't think that we should be giving unwavering support to a corrupt country that cares more about their interests than ours.
Government run by Netanyahu, God's favorite chosen person, corruption trial notwithstanding. So why not give unlimited support to Israel?
Well, because Israel is trying to expand its borders every day. They're trying.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to tackle, and yes, sarcasm is JP's thing. And so as you throw it in a sarcasm moves you just everything else. But is Israel trying to expand its borders every day? Now, what I'm going to prompt you to do is if you fact check this. Now, when I fact check things, I use a combination of about 23 different AI agents at once. It's all synthesizing information. It's got to be able to present the information, be from a credible source, etc. So the question is do you think Israel is trying to expand its borders every day? Do you think this is actually a thing? Now, this is what the pastor said. Would you say that this is actually a thing, that Israel is trying to expand its borders every day? Now, if you were in the world of fact checking, okay, you would take what they say, Israel trying to expand its borders every day. I put the quotes inside the question because it became a question I'm asking. Okay. You have to not only check the fact, you have to check, where does this statement come from? Where does it originate? You could actually find something out there quoted as fact, but you also have to understand where it's coming from. So in this particular case, if we were to search it, and I encourage you to do it, the origin of this claim comes specifically from the United Nations and human rights groups that report that Israel, by de facto annexation or creeping territorial control, they're trying to tell you Israel is basically taking land every day. So that's the premise that this American Christian pastor starts with. Now, if we started to run this down in a fact check, the first fact check is, where does this claim come from? Is it actually true? Well, the claim, you can find the claim out there. You really can. It is a true claim. But does a claim equal a fact? I'll give you a prime example. I was talking with someone about why Tina Peters went to prison, why the 6-degree polynomial was bullshit. You can't base it on that. And that person said, well, we knocked on 1,000 doors and that was we find, and I stand behind it, and that's it. And I said, you got to understand, that's a poll. That's not a fact. You have formed an opinion based upon a poll you did. You asked 1,000 people, here's what 1,000 people said. But when it comes to law, how we should look at things, we could find 1,000 people that say President Trump is a pedophile in the same county or state. Does that make it a fact? And does that make it what you prosecute someone off of? And so I'm trying to get people to deal more in facts as opposed to emotions, theories, and opinions. And that equates to influence. Think on facts. And so the fact that this claim exists is true. This is a true claim, but it's a claim that the United Nations, which we're leaving, and various human rights groups, think Greta Thunberg, you stole my future and Israel is bad, say. Now, first question is, once you look at the source of where the claim comes from, how do you take that? So you got a pastor, got a big congregation, talking with a guy that can get millions of people to follow, making a statement as fact. It's called a false statement of fact. It's what it's called, that Israel is trying to expand its borders every single day. Now, once you find out where the source comes from, does this bolster his claim or does it lessen his claim? That's the first thing you've got to ask yourself. Because see, what we're doing is we're fact checking the fact deliverer. So you're immediately going to give somebody cred because it's JP. You love JP. He's funny. He does stuff. I've seen this guy on with Stu Peters, this pastor. I've seen him all these places. You're going to give them, you're going to allow them a certain amount of credibility and grace because of where you've seen them. You have seen them. But the question is, and I apologize for all the issues with Rumble on this topic, but the question is, did this fellow go up in credibility or lessen in credibility based on that one fact when you find the statement itself comes from the UN or these human rights groups? Okay, so most people answered it lessens. Now, let's dig. We're going to dig a little bit further. And this is one thing: is Israel expanding its territory every day? So let's kind of analyze that. Okay, basically, He's trying to tell you that Israel, its country, its state, is basically declaring new national borders every day. If you look at that statement, number one, it's wrong. But number two, if you look at it, what is really going on when it has to do with their borders? Here are the facts. It is pushing defense lines in the West Bank and parts of Gaza. Now, I want to remind you of something. I just want to remind you of something. What we're talking about is Israel and the carve-outs in Israel. Most people forget this. So you're looking at Israel. It's got Lebanon directly to the north, Mediterranean Sea, to the west, Syria to its northeast, Jordan immediately to its east, etc. Okay? So there is Israel. But you're also seeing somebody, get ready, talking about, we've got the globe, we're talking about world politics, and we're talking to something that is almost exactly the size of our state of New Hampshire. So I got a question. In the terms of global politics, when we look at it on a map, why is it something the size of our state of New Hampshire is suddenly at the forefront of all of this? If our government wanted to go conquer New Hampshire, could it? Sure, a lot of places could, whether it be US or Canada or whatever. So why is it that something as small as the state of New Hampshire is into such contested dis-ease? And what are the facts surrounding it? So as we go on to Israel is literally expanding its borders, here's some of the facts you need to understand where this claim comes from, okay? And so the example of this claim, when you run it down, basically occurs in East Jerusalem, okay? East Jerusalem. I'm going to go back on my screen again. I'm going to show you so you understand where we're talking about, okay? So the red is Israel. You see Jerusalem right there in the center by the Dead Sea. You see that little red edge, which is the east side of Jerusalem. So this is something that is occurring in that spot, that city, on the edge of that city. So that's the context that this comes from. And here's what's going on. And I'm going to give you the names, and you can search them exactly what you want. So it's called Shilka Jara Silwan, Batan al-Hawan, the old city, and similar neighborhoods. So these are exact cities. Screenshot my screen so you can check these things yourself. So there was a report that a Palestinian family was evicted from its Silwan home in 2019 after a court ruled, well, by the way, you actually don't own the land. It belongs to Israel. That's the court ruling. This is a case based on ownership claims that were in place prior to 1948. This is a property claim. This is a property claim from pre-1948. It only got settled in 2019. 71 years later. And the court ruled, after all kinds of machinations and everything else, well, technically, this is not your land. So what did Israel do? You're right, it's our land. And Israel allowed a family to move in. Now, let me ask you a question. In your book or in your mind, is this Israel expanding its borders every day? Be honest. Is this a case of Israel expanding its borders every day? There are people that will say, well, yeah, it is. Well, the court decided no after even all the battles, and you can go back and look. But does this actually mean, represent, stand for that Israel is expanding its territory every single day, which is what the pastor said? Let's go back to the pastor.
Trial notwithstanding. So why not give unlimited support to Israel?
Well, because Israel is trying to expand its borders every day.
Israel's trying to expand its borders every day. Again, all we're doing is starting with fact checking. We know the fact checking of that statement comes from the UN. This Christian pastor that may lead thousands and thousands of people daily in their life, you heard what he just said, and he's actually quoting the UN. Does that strengthen your belief in him, or does that lessen your belief in him as a credible source? He's a man of God, has a big church, he's on with JP. Does that strengthen his credibility with you as a source, as an expert? Now, I do not know many pastors of many American churches who are experts on Israel's rights, courts, laws, actions. So why do we listen to it? Because it's somebody you've heard of, because they put them on media, and there it is. So let's go to the second part of this, because there is a second deeper step. Settlements, part of what the UN says is settlements. And so they try to, and I've always told you it's about words. The way they kind of do this is say, well, those are settlements. Think old tribes, old ways, oh, whatever. Everybody lived together. It wasn't all split, right? But then there was literally a defining of what the land was. And here's what they say, is not inside Israel's pre-1967 internationally recognized territory. Let's look at the words. Part of this claim is based on, well, it's not the pre-1967 internationally recognized territory. Why aren't we going back to 1948? Why aren't we going back to 1955? Why aren't we going back to Judea? Why is there a qualifier? Well, it's not inside Israel's pre-1967 internationally recognized territory. Again, I've always told you it's about the words. Now, they tried to say that Israel captured in 1967 the Six-Day War, which the UN and most countries treat as occupied Palestinian Authority. Here's my issue with this. If anybody did their homework, there is no such thing as a Palestinian. It's a made-up name. Never was a state, never was a country. It's a region, kind of like the Great Lakes in America. We've been through that. So here are the words that define that. Well, it wasn't in the pre-1967, and Israel captured during the Six-Day War, and the UN doesn't recognize it. The UN calls President Trump a terrorist. The UN just put one of the Iran leaders on the board for ensuring women's rights. That's kind of like Biden giving Ruby, whatever her name is, in Georgia, Medal of Freedom. But see, the UN manufactures the stories, it covers it press, and this is what people. So here's my question, right? Period. The Jews were attacked. They defended themselves, but they basically say, Israel captured it. But again, we got to go to the source. Who is it that says this was never Israel's land? The UN. But who's actually repeating this statement? A recognized, known, popular on social media American pastor with a top comedian that has a lot of people, supposed to be MAGA and conservative. Does any of this, JP covering it in his sarcastic way, or a pastor with an agenda, basically telling you this is what facts are, when you know it comes from distorted truth from the UN? Let me ask you a question. Does that pass any kind of fact test for you? Most people will watch this and regurgitate it. But for you and your standard in your life, would this be factual? Would this be factual? Would you accept it, in fact? Would it pass the smell test? So here, now we've got, besides the setup, we got boom, boom, we got hit with crap. Well, let's continue to see what else is said.
To ultimately decapitate every other national power in the Middle East to
Netanyahu, God's favorite chosen person, corruption trial notwithstanding. So why not give unlimited support to Israel?
Well, because Israel is trying to expand its borders every day. They're trying to ultimately decapitate every other national power in the Middle East to achieve greater Israel.
Okay. Israel is trying to decapitate every other major power in the Middle East to achieve greater Israel. That's the statement. Israel is trying to decapitate every other major power in the Middle East to achieve the greater Israel. Does any of that pass any kind of mustard test? Well, let's ask it. Here are the facts. Who is Israel in the process, which he says they're trying to decapitate the Eastern powers? Well, who are they trying to decapitate? These are facts. You can check them yourself. Let me ask you a question. Are these Middle Eastern powers, just like they say, China's a power, Russia's a power, Middle Eastern powers? Or are they using a play of words, which what they're doing, okay? And people believe this, folks. This is why I'm doing it. People believe this. Here's who's Israel's trying to decapitate: Hamas, Hezbollah, Iranian Revolutionary Guards, the Quds Force Network, and Iran-backed militias. Well, I guess you could say they are major Middle East powers, technically, but are those Middle Eastern states that Israel's trying to take over to expand greater Israel? The funny thing that when you look at this, every one of those are globally recognized terrorist organizations that enact their terror primarily against Israel and the United States of America. Listen to this guy again. I mean, listen to it.
Is trying to expand its borders every day. They're trying to ultimately decapitate every other national power in the Middle East.
This is an American Christian pastor trying to convince you with an American influencer this is what Zionism is. To convince you that Israel is trying to do a land rush takeover, is trying to gobble up land and expand its borders, is committing genocide, is killing kids, is assassinating journalists. This is their normal operation. And we know he's a pastor. He's a pastor out of Austin, Texas. But now he's trying to tell you they're trying to eliminate every major power in the Middle East. Let me ask you a question, just a pop quiz, and I want you to be honest. If you had an opportunity to eliminate Hamas, Hezbollah, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the Quds Force networks, and the Iran-backed militias, would you do it? Be honest. ISIS, ISIL, Al-Qaeda, would you obliterate those? Would you obliterate those? Be honest. I'm not going to get into Bible here. I'm not going to get into books of the Bible. Remember, my first work, theological work ever published, was on the book of Revelation, called the Book of Revelations Revealed. Would you get rid of them? I think most people would get rid of every one of those. Most people would get rid of state-sponsored terrorism, which is exactly what you see President Trump doing with Iran in the Middle East. The propaganda machine keeps on trying to tell you President Trump's at war. We've gone to war. No, we haven't. They have imported their terrorists here, but the money comes from Iran. He's doing the right thing, whacking the shit out of Iran so that money doesn't get here for those guys to execute what they need to do. And you'd probably do the same thing. See, there is no peace in the Middle East as long as the terrorist groups exist. So is this pastor being authentic? Is Israel wrong for killing these militant leaders, striking on their weapon depots, attacking their missile and drone systems or intelligence operations, or attacking the Hamas military who has said we're going to obliterate Israel, or strikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon? Remember, Lebanon's just to the north. Hezbollah's there in the red. Is this Israel trying to target all the top powers in the Middle East? Well, technically, you could say they're a power. Yeah, Hamas has power. Al-Qaeda has power. The wrong kind of power. So why is an American pastor promoting this?
Trial notwithstanding. So why not give unlimited support to Israel?
Well, because Israel is trying to expand its borders every day. They're trying to ultimately decapitate every other national power in the Middle East to achieve greater Israel.
Well,
to achieve greater Israel. Here's what Israel is literally doing. I just want you to gut check this. They are killing senior Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iranian-linked commanders. They are destroying the tunnels under their country. They are destroying the weapons depots that these guys have tunneled and put under hospitals and schools. They are destroying missile sites, drone systems, and command centers. All of these old buildings that have been destroyed forever, where the militants set up and fire rockets all at Israel, they're going in and they're putting military in those areas so those buildings can't be repopulated in a way they can see Israeli citizens. They're doing it on all their borders, Israel's borders, and they're making sure all of these ones that get paid to kill Israel and Israeli citizens get wiped out. Is that Israel exerting control to control the Middle East? Put it in chat, yes or no. Is that, those are facts. You can check them yourself. And you have to do double fact check, and you have to look at the claim, and then you take the claim and says, where does this claim come from? And you're right. Those militant groups exclusively kill their targets of Christians and Jews. But Israel, protecting its borders, taking out these places, did Israel, quote unquote, attack a hospital? No. Hezbollah, in order to create this dialogue, that's the con. Both people don't know it. They take families there. Look, Jordan, you see Jordan right there on the right, right? That's all Jordan. That big ass swath to the right where you see that's Jordan. They won't even take any refugees because they want to kill Jordan too. They won't take any of them. And so they take these people that are willing to fight this fight and they force them inside Israel alone, something the size of New Hampshire in the whole scope of the world. So why are influencers all of a sudden focusing on Israel? Because they get paid to do it. Just like the United States is defending itself, right? Against all this crap out there of Iran wanting to wipe America and Israel off the map for 48 years. Here is an American preacher, pastor, whatever he wants to call himself, telling you Israel's bad, God left Israel, they're wrong, I hate Judaism, Israel's a bad country, Israel's killing, murdering, genociding people wanting to take over, and they're bad for defending themselves against the Iran-backed militants, which are the same militants here to cause terror on our land. Same thing Trump's doing. An American pastor propped up by an American comedian, all of this being scripted to give you a particular bent on all of this. Let's keep on going.
That's just Israel having the right to defend itself.
I don't think so. I think it's Israel trying to become another superpower in the Middle East with strategic monopolies on trade routes and commodities that eventually they may not be so friendly towards us.
Okay, I'm going to let you listen to this a few times. You might want to write this down. I want you to understand, this is about an 11-minute interview. We are 1 minute, 31 seconds in. One minute, 31 seconds in. Think about that. By the way, I want to let you know, if for promoting people in my Rumble to join your channel, you're gone. I keep on saying this. If it keeps on happening, you're gone. Period. We're not here talking about other people's channels or a channel you've set up. We're here to learn, and don't make me put you in the corner. Isn't it amazing how people do that? Anyway, listen to this pastor again. I'm going to play it 2 more times. Then we're going to discuss this one. And remember, this is an 11-minute interview we did. We're only 1 minute, 31 seconds in, and look where we've arrived.
Well, that's just Israel having the right to defend itself.
I don't think so. I think it's Israel trying to become another superpower in the Middle East with strategic monopolies on trade routes and commodities that eventually they may not be so friendly towards us.
So why not give unlimited support to Israel?
Well, because Israel is trying to expand its borders every day. They're trying to ultimately decapitate every other national power in the Middle East to achieve greater Israel.
Well, that's just Israel having the right to defend itself.
I don't think so. I think it's Israel trying to become another superpower in the Middle East with strategic monopolies on trade routes and commodities that eventually they may not be so friendly towards us.
Okay, so a lot of key wording in that. They're going to shut down our trade routes. They're going to control commodities. You heard it. Let's just kind of look at this again. We are now. Let me make sure we're a minute 31 through this interview of an 11-minute interview, and look at where we've already ended up. So let's take this one, that this American pastor, which if it's a pastor, you know he's got to be preaching to thousands of people. He seems to be on social media. JP's on social media. Well, let's kind of look at this. You ready? Israel is trying to control strategic trade routes, is what you heard him say, and commodities, right? Here's the fact. Israel does not control global trade routes or commodities. They have none, period. There is not a global trade route through Israel. Israel has no world commodities. Global trade does not go through Israel, and global commodities do not go through Israel. The fact is, it's a very small country. It doesn't even control any of the big global checkpoints like the Suez Canal. Egypt controls that, or the Strait of Hormuz, which is Iran. Israel does not contribute to any of this. So why would a pastor lead you to believe they do?
The right to defend itself.
I don't think so. I think it's Israel trying to become another superpower in the Middle East with strategic monopolies on trade routes and commodities that eventually they may not be so friendly towards us.
They're bad. They're bad. They're going to strangle the world. They're going to strangle trade routes and commodities. And then they're going to do it to us. Well, let's fact check that part of it, because there are no global trade routes or even strategic routes through there at all. You know the only thing that is strategically there? Let's see if you know this. What is the only thing that affects the United States in Israel that is strategically there that would affect us? Put it in chat. Do you know? What is strategically there in Israel? Our ability to land our planes and or equipment if in fact we had to engage the Middle East. Our entire network of how we understand what's going on bad in the Middle East, so we avoid this stuff, is based out of Israel in a joint operation with Mossad. So we understand what's going on. That is the two things that are there. You take out Israel and our ability to stage, then we're only left with Germany exclusively, which, by the way, they just denied our access with Iran. Same with France. Oops. You see how critical is Israel to us? In that sense, incredibly critical. You take out that little place where we can successfully land, refuel, and stage, then the Middle East has an advantage over us. We already know Germany and France has fallen because they said, well, you're attacking Iran, you can't fuel up here. So what really does Israel have? Our back. And if Israel goes down, what happens to us? Because Germany's not our allies. The UK's not our allies. France is not our allies. Spain's not our allies. Although we liberated all their countries, what happens to us if they get rid of Israel? Do you understand what this American pastor is promoting? Here's JP in the guise of I'm for MAGA and whatever. You follow what we're saying? And an American pastor, they're trying to think, oh, this combination will do it. Let's get the Christians against the Jews. Look at the symbolism. Do you understand what the psychological warfare is yet? Put it in chat. Do you understand what the real goal is? I've told you it's about ending Christianity and Judaism in Israel. Do you understand it's the only way in the Middle East we can literally defend ourselves properly? Do you understand it opens us up? Do you understand how much more would be here if we didn't have Israel having our back? Therefore, we got their back. You are watching psychological warfare. Now, what's the difference between like Israel and Jordan? Israel's not a Muslim country. Jordan is. At times, we can land in Jordan. At times, Jordan's with us, but they are a Muslim country. There is a material difference about where you literally do it. Now, Espis says, I don't see the interview the same as you. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. You're entitled to your own opinions. I'm giving you facts of what happens. So let's just go back to fact checking the pastor because you don't see it the same way. Let's just fact check what he just said. And then you tell me where you follow.
The right to defend itself.
I don't think so. I think it's Israel trying to become another superpower in the Middle East with strategic monopolies on trade routes and commodities that eventually they may not be so friendly towards us.
Well,
let's deal with facts, shall we? You don't have to agree with my opinion of why I think Israel's strategic. You don't have to. Let's just look at the facts. Okay. Here's what's going to happen to the United States if Israel controls its commodities and won't play with us. We're not going to get their integrated circuits. We're not going to get their diamonds. We're not going to get their electronics. And here's a key word. It's petroleum gas. They will refine oil to get petroleum to gas. We're not going to get gas or potash or fertilizer. That's what they could withhold from us. Let's just look at the facts. Here is what Israel factually would have the ability to withhold from us. Gas if we bought it from them, but we don't. Phones and electronics, if we bought them from them, predominantly we do not. Diamonds, yes, but they go through Africa and London. Integrated circuits, if we use them. Chemicals, we don't buy chemicals from them. Arms and defense tech, well, that's software, but there's not a lot incorporated into what we do. And high-tech services. Let me understand, that country has its own ports we get nothing from. They don't control major shipping ports we get nothing from. But they'll cut us off. Okay, well, what if they did cut us off? Well, the United States and Israel trades about $55 billion in goods and services. That's the 2024 number. Now, they call us, United States Trade Relations, calls Israel as a significant partner, but it's not a top-tier partner. Can Israel do anything to hurt our economy? Well, here it is. Get ready, folks. Drum roll. If they cut us off, it's going to reduce our trade 0.75%. I'm going to be that pastor. And I think, I'm telling you, God told me these Jews, this Judaism, this is going to be so bad. They're going to control commodities they don't have. They're going to cut off shipping corridors they don't control. And if you don't believe that, they're going to hurt us because they're going to turn on us and not trade. And it is going to put a 0.75% dent in our economy. Now, I buy from Israel. Most of my wines, Prosecco's, etc., that I buy come from Israel. Same with tomatoes, by the way, and other stuff. And I buy those at Trader Joe's because they'll let them in the country and bring them in. And so I buy them to support Israel. Oh my God, I am not going to be able to get my Israeli wine, which accounts for, again, about 0.5%. No, it's 0.1% of the global wine trade. Here's my question. How much of this can we endure? Because, see, the system takes influencers and put it out there. And one of our longtime ones pushed back on me saying, I'm taking from the way they say it is, they think there's valuable stuff here. Okay.
Good evening. With the offing of children, killing of journalists, genocide, the takeover of the U.S. government by Israel, all in the name of Zionism, it is clear we need more Zionism. Christian Zionists, Jewish Zionists, whatever, we need more of it. However, for some reason, there's opposition to Zionism growing in our country. And I'm joined today by one of those Zionist skeptics so that we can learn how the mind of a hateful person works. Christian pastor Joel Webben. Joel, do you even believe in God?
As a matter of fact, I do. I don't just believe in God, I love God.
Do you worship Israel?
No, I do not. And I also don't think that we should be giving unwavering support to a corrupt country that cares more about their interests than ours.
Government run by Netanyahu, God's favorite chosen person, corruption trial notwithstanding. So why not give unlimited support to Israel?
Well, because Israel is trying to expand its borders every day. They're trying to ultimately decapitate every other national power in the Middle East to achieve greater Israel.
Well, that's just Israel having the right to defend itself.
I don't think so. I think it's Israel trying to become another superpower in the Middle East with strategic monopolies on trade routes and commodities that eventually they may not be so friendly towards us.
Well, God blesses those who bless Israel. Ted Cruz. Look into it.
You're literally watching JP make fun of the Bible and God, sitting with a Christian pastor going along with it. We got exactly 1 minute and 36 seconds through that. It took us an hour. Now, this is why the system will do this. So few people will actually run it to ground. But because you see an influencer saying it, because you've heard it repeated and repeated and repeated, because, well, he's sitting there with a top American pastor. Why would an American pastor do that? Let me ask you a question. Just in this short 1 minute, 36 seconds, primarily of this pastor, can he lead you to God? Can he lead you to a righteous life if everything he spewed is political, UN, rhetoric, scripting, placement? Honest question. Can that pastor lead you to God, liberty, freedom in any way when all of a sudden you understand in 1 minute and 36 seconds, look how many UN propagated lies and bullshit we had to unpack. Can you imagine what this guy's like in a sermon? And you know, the people sitting there in the sermon, right? In the sermon, are there because he's a man of God. And now it's become popular. This is a random subject. We can do it. We can certainly do it almost on everything that comes out of a lot of influencers and certainly in the mainstream. But you throw in that little thick of Israel, the lies are rampant. So what's the real point? If Israel affects 0.75% of our economy, can't hurt us, why is there so much dialogue about it? Our Christian institutions are failing. I guarantee you that pastor does not even understand, remove Jews, Israel, anything from the Bible, you're left with not even 3% of said Bible that supposedly your seminary degree, if you have one, is based on. So let's see. Shun Israel, get rid of Israel, everything Judaism, everything Jewish. And I'm an American pastor, and I get to talk about 3% of what I based my whole career on. Which basically says, 96% of the stuff I've been teaching you and on my degrees on was bullshit. We'll just talk about this. They don't even think these things through. Gets them on TV, gets them in interviews. See, this is a very large con to destroy God. And we're talking about a tiny, tiny, tiny spit of a country. Why don't they talk about, like, here's a pastor, right? Why don't they talk about 20,000 Christians just killed, like in the Congo or wherever it was? Nigeria, Uganda, it's in all of them. Why isn't he on somebody's program talking about that? A Christian pastor doing interviews. Let's see how many. Hang on one second. Hold on. What's up with my... So a Christian comes on to do a program with an influencer, providing political cover for Iran, Hezbollah, etc., etc. This is his interview, right? What he wants to talk about is how Israel is bad. But here's what he's not going to talk about. Right at 13,900 and change Christians killed in Africa by Muslim militants. Don't you think a pastor should be speaking about Christians being killed? Israel's about the size of New Hampshire. Who is a mere pastor to say, well, when the temple fell, that's when the God walked away from the Jews? I just got a question. Sorry, who the fuck are you? You supersede the word of God? You are so arrogant and narcissistic. And by the way, did you notice he's wearing a Templar emblazed icon on his jacket? Do you notice that? You think this guy's a Templar warrior, or is he social signaling out the wazoo? Like he's some modern warrior. Some Christian warrior. At best, he's a Christian poser. He's a political pundit. How is that even a pastor? Could he sick his congregation on this and we could get flooded with comments? Oh, he's a great guy. Sure he could. But those are people he controls. I'm only asking for fact checking. This guy who supposedly leads people in their Christian life, and I got a hair somewhere in my nose and I can't get it, it's driving me nuts, is leading people's eternal destiny, and all he can do is spew UN talking points. The word he should be teaching, he discounts. Well, no, God walked away from the Jews. He's not teaching the word. The word he follows is the UN and NGOs. Help me understand this. That's the question. What is his mission? Here we go. Hang on one second. I'm a Lutheran pastor. I would definitely caution everyone about having discernment about pastors. A lot of them are just using their pulpits and position for political purposes, so they're steeped with it, and they don't necessarily realize it. You're right. You're right. I have met an unimaginable amount of so-called Christian pastors who know almost nothing about theology, who want to tell you God walked away. They don't even understand their comments. What's the number one fallacy with God walked away? It's an inconvenient truth I'm about to give you. If you don't want to have your world rocked, don't listen. His premise is God walked away from the Jews. When the temple fell, first temple fell, God walked away from the Jews. What is the premise that is failed with this statement? It's not God doesn't make mistakes. This is even bigger. When I drop it on you, you're going to see how it's even bigger. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was with God. Now, who do they tell you Jesus is? Jesus is God. Jesus is the Holy Spirit. That you cannot separate them. They are one. Oh, shit. So Jesus walked away. The Holy Spirit walked away. When the temple fell, they walked away from everybody. By the way, that basically means when God walked away, you basically just negated Jesus's life as fulfillment of God's word. You want to deny one part of the word, but you want to deny it only about the giving of the land, not that the Messiah would also come. You want to keep that little bit. You just don't want it to be a land right. Oops. By the way, I'm surprised how many Christians don't know that Jesus is Jewish. I am befuddled. How many people, hold on, have no concept that Jesus is a Jew, was a Jew. I'm kind of really, I'm surprised how many people think Jesus is and was a Christian. I really don't get that. These men are participating in a Jewish ceremony with their rabbi. Every one of these individuals are Jews. They weren't even called Christians for what they believed until hundreds of years later. Yet people will say, Jesus wasn't a Jew. I possess the same faith these people at this table possess. I am a Jew who believes beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jesus was in fact a Messiah. The one who would bring the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to the world, which is the definition of Messiah. I am exactly 100% unwavering that faith right there. If you ever wanted to know what I am, I would have sat at that table having that discussion. And these things aren't sexed, S-E-C-T. They're not sex, folks. You can even have different beliefs in Christianity. This is why history is so important. But my whole beef is you have literally a pastor who basically says he is a Christian. He is a Christian warrior. He does not believe in Zionism. that God left the Jews. Who the fuck do you think created Zionism by pledging Israel a homeland, you idiot? Who manifested even the thought, the belief, the act that there would be Zionism? God. But God left them. Oh, yeah, but God is Jesus. Jesus is the Holy Spirit. We just don't want to have God's word fulfilled with Israel, but I'll accept God's word fulfilled when Jesus came. I want to parse this out. You theological idiot. We have Zionism not because of Jews. We have Zionism because God was the one that said it would be and be done and fulfilled. Y'all want to come on and explain some of it? It's a covenant that only God consecrated because he put Abraham in a deep sleep. Interesting. I want some of your people to come on, right? None of them will ever do it. Why is that? Why is that? Why is the very Bible tells you Jewish that Jesus is a rabbi and will literally tell you this, and then you deny it? You can't have it both ways. You can't be a Democrat and say those guys are terrorists and we're for peace when you're the one protesting against them doing terrorist acts. You can't be of two minds. That's my issue. You can't have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. You can't in one breath, well, God left. Tennessee Hanuk says there's only one Messiah, Jesus. That's factually incorrect. See, people think Messiah means walk on water, turn water to wine. That's not the definition of Messiah. The one who would bring the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to the world. That is the definition of the Jewish word you are repeating. And this is kind of the disconnect. You think it means walk on water. No, it has a literal meaning. Moses was one. Noah was one. But see, you get taught your entire childhood, that's the Messiah, which is a misuse of the word. It's not even what it means. And I'm not denying you your faith, your Christianity, what you believe. By the way, God and Jesus the same way. You have a personal relationship with God, that's up to you. That is free will. Nobody can tell you this. So why does man even discuss it? Why does an American pastor believe he knows what's up? Why? See, that's what I don't get. But the same pastor justifies his theology saying God walked away from the Jews. Look at the timeline. Then you also get no Messiah. If God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit are one in the same. Because you're saying his word wasn't true, he didn't fulfill it. But his word is true, he did fulfill it. Faith in a relationship with God is attacked, just like our nation's attacked. The only common three threads you have in all of this: God, the United States, Donald Trump, and holding back Muslims. And because people think they know theology, don't know history, think, right? Think, that's it. Tennessee, if you want to come in and talk about the mediator between man and God, I'll be glad to share my theological work with you. You can come on, you can convince us all. There is one mediator between God and man, the man Jesus Christ. Can I ask you a question? Just a question, just a generic question. And I just would love it if you would honestly come on and answer me. So first, let me put your comment on the screen, because this is what comment is. Okay? And people never think about these things, right? Listen to him excuse Trump. Okay, here you go. Hold on. Hang on. Let's see how many of these people have testicular fortitude. Somebody wants to promote their show, so let's promote their show. Stan the Joke Man Show. Come on down and let's take you serious, Joke Man. Come on to the program. I sent you a link. Let's see if Stan the Joke Man Show. Let's see. Stan has 198 followers. Woohoo! Come in, tell me the truth, Mr. Joke. Let me take me seriously. I know. Here's what's bad about, and I do the Joke Man Show. Come on. Come on. I'm going to give you the screen. I don't want to decide what you're saying. Come on. You got a show. Come on. Let's have this discussion. Set me straight. You said I'm excusing Trump. Come on. But here, Tennessee, I got a question for you. Tennessee Canuck. There is one mediator between man and God, the man, Jesus Christ. There is one mediator between man and God, right? And that is the man, Jesus Christ. Oh, now Stan's saying, I stand with Christ. You are the offenders of children. Who is you? Joke Man, come on. I'll give you the platform. Let's see. I'll double your followers. I'll double your followers in one broadcast. Okay. I have a question. Okay. And I want you just to think about this for a moment. And Tennessee Canuck, it'd be really great if you came on, because I would be able to understand it. And Stan the Joke Man, grow your fucking balls. Come on and let's have a discussion. You came into the chat, right? You think you know it. Come on. And I'm Stan wants you to know I'm against the children. You're against baby bunnies. Put me on coward. Here I am. Stan, you fucking idiot. I'm sending you a link, you idiot. There is a link. You see that link where it pings your name, click the link. Accept microphone, accept camera. Come on. Come on. You have to click. I've issued the call to the front. Best it all come forward, but you must choose it. Click the link. Holy shit. Can somebody, you see, Stan doesn't know how this works. Here's a link for Stan. Stan doesn't understand chat. You sent nothing, false prophet. You sent nothing. Here's a screen filled with links. Somebody educate Stan on how to click a link in chat. He's on chat. Show him how to click the link. It will put him into my studio. I'm not going to let him go. Click the link. He didn't send me nothing, coward. Here's the question. Okay? Stan, turn on your camera. Turn on your light so we can see you. Okay? I've got you here in my studio. I gotta be able to see you. I can't see what that is on my screen. So turn it on your face, joke man, and we'll have a conversation. I got one question here real quick. Hang on. I'm going to go ask Tennessee. Here's the thing. Ready? And don't leave, Stan, just because you're not on the screen yet. Tennessee says there's one man mediator between God and man. The man is Jesus Christ. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, which is an absolute commandment. How does that work if you only believe Jesus is a man, but you buy into the Holy Trinity, but he's a mediator, which means he's between man and God? And here we go. Okay, so Stan's going to educate us. Here we go, Stan. Ready to go? Hello, Stan. Hello, Stan.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Hello, Stan.
Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you now. You got to listen to the program versus trying to listen to yourself otherwise. What was this I was doing to kids, Stan?
Why you lie on them for Donald Trump?
No. What was this here's a very distinct question. I'm hoping you're sober enough to understand it. You said
You
did stuff to kids. I want to know what I did to kids.
Prophet. You hold him down for Donald Trump to fuck, boy. And murder. And rape. You brought them from the Rio Grande to Gaza, to Lebanon, to Iran, to Epstein's, to Ukraine, and even disabled transgender kids driven to the #1 suicide rate among underage kids in America. God says they're innocent. You deny them medical care and you kill them, fat ass. You're a false prophet. You hold them kids down for an unrepentant Donald Trump. You fuck kids and murder them with Trump.
So, Stan, I'll give a test.
I don't take your test, boy. You're a false prophet, liar.
Boy,
playing your games.
Am I a boy?
Back up your child rape.
Am I a boy? Am I a boy? Stan, if you want to have a discussion,
You have anything else of substance?
if you want to have a discussion and not be taken as a fucking joke, have a discussion, Stanley. Okay? Have a discussion, Stanley. Okay? So here's let's do this. Let's have a discussion.
Speak! Yeah, that's what I thought, boy. You got nothing.
Boy, no, I'm about to.
Kids
Look,
with Trump.
I understand yelling. I understand repeating because nothing gets discussed. Here's what I'm going to make a recommendation. Loosen your cock ring so the veins don't pop out of your head. And let's go over these one by one and do it by facts. Just one by one. That's all I'm asking. I'll give you the floor one by one. Let's go through the facts. Now, here's what I want to know.
Speak!
When was it when was it I held down children for Donald Trump to fuck? When was
you
it?
voted for him again in 2020 and 24.
Is this about voting or is this about when I held down kids for Trump to fuck? Which one do you want to talk about?
You signed that pledge in front of God, including the voter registry. You defied God for Trump.
Okay, so Stan, if you want to be taken serious and not a joke, we got to unpack it one by one.
Reverend, you pile of...
When did I hold down children for Donald Trump to fuck? Now, let me tell you here's my impression. I think when people are getting fucked, their faces get really red, veins pop in their head, they start screaming. That's my impression of somebody who's getting fucked, right? That's my impression of somebody who's getting fucked. So what I want to know is, when did I hold down? We just got to get through the first ones. When did I hold down kids for Trump? And here's my thing. I think when kids are being raped, here's what I think, just my thing. I think if you were to look at people in a mirror that were getting raped and ass fucked, I think their faces would be bright red. I think the veins would be popping out of their heads. I think the veins would be popping out of their neck if they were forcefully raped. So let's just start there. When did I hold down kids for President Trump to rape?
Can't back up your shit and you're just as ugly as Don Eagle.
When did I hold down kids for President Trump to rape? That is the funniest fucking video I've ever captured. Here's the deal. The lesson in this is, you have to unpack these things one at a time. You start exactly with the claims. What's the first claim? I held down kids, which you put in chat. I held down kids when Donald Trump raped them. So, Stanley, will you come back to the head of the class? Stanley. There is no way I can fix mental illness. There is no way you can have a discussion with mental illness. There is no way you can have a discussion when people yell and scream and whatever. Can anybody kind of find out for me where this Stanley fellow is? I'm worried about him. If anybody ever had a face that looked like somebody possessed, holy shit-a-moly. So where's Stan? And Stan the Joke Man Show. Okay, I don't want to deprive you of Stan the Joke Man. And you're right. Meth is a hell of a drug. So let's see if I can find Stan's content. Hang on one second. Ooh, dang it. And because Stan didn't have the testicular fortitude to speak for himself, and you can never speak with anybody that yell and scream. That's exactly what protesters on the streets do. And I wish sometimes we could, that guy's face, that guy's face screaming, Stan, I bet you it's going to become a top meme. Oh, hang on. I'm trying to find him in here so I can get to his channel. There it is. Called me a coward. You sent nothing, you false prophet. Stan the Joke Man Show. Let's see. 21 hours ago. One day ago. I get it. Okay, hang on. Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to share my screen. Ooh, sorry, wrong one. Share screen. Let's try to get to know Stan. Share audio. We'll just do this together. Ready? Stan the Joke Man Show. Where's my sound? Oh, there's a...
Good God. Almost as long as since we've... This Asian family has been running this donut shop. Good God. Almost as long as since we've lived down here in Henrietta, 20 years, of course. Now, they're temporarily closed due to personnel reasons. You know what that is? Trump's ICE. Targeting innocent people who have businesses here in Henrietta because they have slanting eyes.
Okay. So that's the first time I ever heard Trump targeted Asian people. So he's in Henrietta, Georgia. Here you go.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to the Stan the Joke Man show.
He's so lucky that his camera was waiting on him outside.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to the Stan the Joke Man show from the north side of my breezeway.
Oh, it's Henrietta. I thought is Henrietta, Oklahoma or Henrietta, Georgia? We got to figure this out.
Areas know about sledgehammering. What do you... Howdy, folks. Welcome to the Stan the Joke Man show from the north side of my breezeway. What do you little cherries know about sledgehammering? What do you really fucking know about working a sledge? You see, a sledgehammer, the American military, is held by the president. He has the power to use our sons and daughters to do one thing: defend American democracy. Only this time, the president isn't using the sledgehammer to defend democracy. He's using it regardless of all the cries and pleads for peace, including from Iran. Trump and Netanyahu can't have peace. Both men, child molesters, child murderers, you continue to defend in the name of God. I ask you again, cowards, wicked prophecy, what do you know about working a sledgehammer? Huh? You're cowards. You've defied good in this country for a child rapist.
What?
And it's inexcusable.
He's such a strong guy.
Bye, con Dios, mi amigos.
He's such a strong guy. Okay, let's see what else we got here from Stan the Man. Operation Sledgehammer, Part 1. Oh, wait. That was Part 1.
Welcome to the Stan the Joke.
Okay, so it's Operation Sledgehammer. We got the donut place. Trump White House threatens Muslim nations. Stan the Joke Man. Welcome to the Dear Stan program. On this account, he has 12 followers.
This is my own damn show. Which way does it river
Cool, he sings his own music too.
Stones, they might break your bones, but words hurt forever, and truth destroys the dream.
Ooh, is this about hot buttered boys of Bangkok?
Words hurt forever, when truth destroys.
A lot of homophobia, homoerotic in this. What is he making? Fried chicken? Stan, talk to us.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to the Stan the Joke Man show. I am Stan the Joke Man. Glad to be with you here on a Memorial Day. Hopefully you're spending time with family. Hopefully you got a chance to get out today and pay your respects to American soldiers.
Wait, his hair's red this time. Do you notice that? His hair's red. Wait.
How you acknowledge.
It's dyed red. Look.
How you do it is
Oh,
okay.
no, that's his hat.
You know, just as long as you do it, as long as you remember to be grateful for your freedoms. So many people are ungrateful and they don't realize what they've done because they think they can hit reset and everything is going to be just fine. They don't realize who were abandoned, don't we? We know Donald Trump doesn't mean it.
Okay,
but to get their rapists and innocent folks and continues. Let anybody tell you taxes. Innocent paying your phone.
Who wants to track keywords for me? Here we go. We'll do this a little bit and then we'll be done with Stan the Joke Man.
I don't give a shit if you haven't worked all the way through the system yet. If you're a legal immigrant and you are here legally and you're a good law-abiding citizen, doing your own thing, minding your own business and paying your fucking taxes, then by God, you're the ideal American. You're the perfect American. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You defend your American home and your American family from this fucking rapist. who continues to try to force himself on innocent people like the folks in Greenland, like the folks in Cuba, like the folks in Venezuela, like the folks in Iran. Rapists, they just can't help but to get their love all over you, whether you want it or not.
Do you think that Stan has a proclivity for child rape and stuff? He sure talks about it almost in every one. This is really interesting. Could that be the source of his anger, unresolved issues?
This is where the Republican Party stands. Today, Donald Trump disingenuously went before the fucking Arlington Wall like every living president has done before him, only we know where Donald Trump stands, don't we? We know Donald Trump doesn't mean it, especially being that our American soldiers are overseas right now with minimal or no anti-missile defense systems, no drone defense systems either. Just ask the troops in Kuwait who were abandoned by Republican MAGA ingrates who think you could just hit reset. You deserve exactly what's coming to you. Donald Trump went to the wall, and Marco Rubout, dumbest fucking idiot on the planet, another spoiled fucking brat, was over there in the Middle East actually saying to all the Muslim countries of the Arab world, you need to just go ahead and sign the Abraham Accords and get along with Israel, or we're going to step in. The pussy boys of the MAGA party are threatening violence against the Muslim nation if they don't stop talking to God the way they talk to God and start talking to God the way Trump tells them to talk to God, or there's going to be military intervention.
Is just a question. Am I missing something here? He's saying that Trump is in the Middle East to say you can't pray to God this way. You must talk to God the way I say you talk to God. Did I miss something here?
You give Ben Netanyahu what he wants, my friend, Trump says.
Did President Trump go to the Middle East and say, you give my friend Bibi Netanyahu what he wants? Would that pass any kind of fast check?
If they don't stop talking to God the way they talk to God and start talking to God the way Trump tells them to talk to God, or there's going to be military intervention. You give Ben Netanyahu what he wants, my friend, Trump says. Or there's going to be violence on innocent people. Who's the fucking terrorist? Who's using God to terrorize innocent people? Look in the mirror, MAGA. Look at yourself, you shit stains. You're the ugliest people in American history. Pardon me, I've got to have some rib.
Well, we know he's good at cleaning a bone, but what else is he good at?
Or chicken. Sorry. Fucking chicken. Chicken wings. That's it.
Oh, he didn't know what kind of bone he was. Okay, cleaning. Okay, that's fine. He confused his bones.
So high, I forgot what I was cooking. Did y'all hear about our munitions? They're gone. 5 years worth. Gone. That's how much Hexeth and Trump have burned through. All of you. Jerk fags at the truth. Ignoring for your complacency. Refusing to look at the truth. You circle jerk fags. All of you.
Are you beginning to notice a homoerotic theme with Stan? I supposedly held down children for Donald Trump to fuck. Murdered children. This is kind of alarming. Now, there's a lot of people that will do political theater for show screaming like that, but I think Go Stan really means it. This, I think, Stan's very unhinged. He talks almost in a way that, with his previous video, that wants to maybe lead you down a path that he's ex-military, but I'm not sure that may be the truth. That may be some of the resentment it has. Let's kind of just a little bit, let's kind of look at the surroundings he puts up behind him.
Don't you ever throw that word towards a homosexual again. I know a lot of homosexuals, and they're great, upstanding, just normal people. You're the dirty. You're the ugly. You're the liar. You're the judgmental chicken shit who lowered yourself to a child rapist. And you want everybody to forget it. And you expect everybody to just get over it. Just go on. No. That's what you don't get. Or what, boy? That's what I thought. Fuck you. And have a happy Memorial Day if you can have a happy Memorial Day.
That's kind of scary. What I see is a lot of projections that might have came from his father talking to him, the way his father talked to them, things his father did to them, which now maybe he continues on with a same belief system. This is really odd. Very, very odd. Now, I think we can agree that Stan is not just having a bad day, because, you know, you've got the videos on his site. Let's see how often he posts a day ago, 2 days ago, 2 days ago, 4 days ago, 4 days ago, 6 days ago, 667. He's posting multiple times a day, and we can go back a year ago. I'm gonna keep on going. He's on Twitter. Stan the Joke Man Show. It isn't boring. I like partial sober better than never sober. I left high school for marriage and college, then dropped out of that. Here's what I got. That's his Twitter. Okay. Well, okay, Stan, I gave you a shot. I would have loved to. He's made 727 videos since, let's do a little bit of math here. Hold on. So that's 06 22 2024. So it's 704 days since he's been on Rumble, and he has made 727 individual videos. And it looks like all of them are the same. It isn't boring. I'm happier, kinda sober, as opposed to never sober. I skipped high school for marriage and college, then dropped out of that. Not often, but sometimes I was right for selfish reasons. I can't remember exactly when that happened. So having said that, here's what I got. Okay. It's just, again, I don't know if it's a tactic or people calling him, but I can tell you, people in the country, a lot of people are feeling this way, and a lot of this politics stuff goes this way. And I think this is what politics, right, does to people, right? I think this is what the system wants in people. I would say Stan is a prime example of what the system, where the system wants all of us to get. And I would tell you, the system rewards those who can't be focused. The system rewards those who can't see through the truth. Because if you can keep people blind or angry or pushing, they're never going to deal with what's really up. Now, personally, I find that sad. If anything, we should be concerned with Stan. I asked Stan on. Some people are saying it looks like he's going through withdrawals. I would kind of sign that. But if we could ever just get to the point that people that have a point, just discuss it. Let's just start where it unpack it. Right? Let's just unpack it. If it had unpacked it, well, of course, I never held down a kid for Trump to screw. All these talking points to Stan, son of Sam, seem to have gotten to him. But here's what we should take from this. What triggered Stan today was me going through talking points of showing a Christian pastor basically pushing bullshit, supposed Christian and or conservative influencers pushing bullshit, and it triggered a liberal who fancies themselves Christian and doing the right thing. I find that really interesting. I wish we could have had a discussion. I just want to start like I always start. Stan, where you're from? Tell me what you do. Tell me what's going on. Anyway, this has been a real-time exercise in fact-checking. I think it's pretty bad when you see interviews online, about 11 minutes in time, and it takes you an hour even to just reveal all the fact-checking of the first 1 minute and 36 seconds. That's how much content there was to disprove even what the pastor was coming out with. Now, it concerns me. I don't like athletes being political. I don't like music stars being political. I certainly don't like pastors and teachers being political. But kind of everything's become political, and I find that sad. I find that sad. I actually think people could honestly be a Democrat, believe in their Democrat values, to believe in their belief systems they have, just a regular Democrat, and be okay. And I have many of them in my life that I'm friends with, that I adore, that I'd give my life for, that have been in my life for decades. But I don't begrudge them their politics, because I understand all of this is free will. But I do know if the system only trains it to yell, to not listen, we're not going to get anywhere. And I actually think that's what the system wants. The system's afraid of dialogue. But to have any dialogue, you got to unpack it, because what I would have rather done, I didn't expect, and I'll taunt all choice, but I didn't expect it to go that way. Expect it. Stan, tell us about yourself, where you are. You got family, you got kids, whatever, right? Stan may hate his life. I'm going to guess Stan's a middle-aged man. Said he was married, but now's not. Stan's probably hurting. That sucks. Whether you're conservative or liberal, MAGA or not, that sucks. Nobody should hurt. But I think that kind of rage is dangerous. I think it's dangerous to your own health, Stan. And man, I've seen a lot of people be mad over politics, but I think this is kind of on the verge of maybe being unhealthy to people around you or neighbors. Stan, that amount of hate in your life is dangerous. Donald Trump didn't create Epstein or bring Epstein into being. The system did that. The system did that. You hate Netanyahu because of what the system has told you to say. The system does that. Stan, I'll have this discussion with you anytime, but you got to keep your anger in check. And might I suggest you start off with, who are you? Since June 22nd, 2024, you've been making Rumble videos. What compelled you to do that? What's your mission? What are you trying to share? But if you want to be taken serious, you might not even call yourself the joke man. Decide who you are, Stan. Are you a political pundit? Are you I oppose Donald Trump? Are you a joke man? Are you, hey, this is what's right, ethical, and moral? What are you? But I'll continue to have that discussion with you. But I got to tell you, Stan, something's off. Something really bad has gotten a hold of you to the point that you cannot even control yourself, even for a moment. And I got to tell you, I would not wish that on anyone. I would not wish anyone to have demons in their mind or any of that. I wouldn't. That's torture. But here's what I know, Stan. Probably somewhere in there, you're just a guy who loves to barbecue, take care of his yard, might live in rural America. And I bet you we could find a hell of a lot more things we have in common than we have difference. And I think if we could lay down the triggers and just talk about who we are and what we believe, not who we believe did what, just what we believe, we could find ways to disarm this. When I see people kind of raging like that, I see people who are hurting. I see people who are isolated. And no one deserves that amount of pain and grief. They don't. And I think we can say something's bugging you, Stan. So my door's open. You want to talk? You want to get it? St. Thomas says, I'd be lying if I didn't say I had days I felt like Stan sounds. I think the system, St. Thomas, does that to us. And thank you for that tip. Thank you. I think the system does that to us. I think the system wants that. Because the one thing we know, there's two things that come from it. You can't be rational and act like that, but you also cannot hear anything else in dialogue if you act like that. And I think that's what the system rewards. I think that's a prime example of what the system wants in all of this. I think 95% of all the rage you see out there, a system created that system want, and the people get so upset about it, they don't know how to realize they're now being used as being tools of weapons and puppets and hate. And I wouldn't wish that grief on anyone. But I do know that's what the system rewards. Anyway, I'm going to encourage everybody to hardcore fact check. Somebody says, be careful, Jovan. You'll end up in Stan's basement as a skinned meat puppet. And he'll be eating my bone, holding me down, boy. No, square. That's my no. Don't go there. That's my no, square. Where's that video? Hang on. Do I still have my no, square? I probably don't. Anyway. Wow. And I know my veins can get going and stuff, but that was quite a treat. Anyway, you're right. Never a dull moment. Folks, fact check these things. Okay? Fact check these things. And Tennessee, I would really have loved to talk to you. There is one mediator between God and man. The man is Jesus Christ. And see, here's what I've got. You can't have Jesus one day be God and Holy Spirit and man, but then decide, well, he's only man on this part. And then in between, when it clearly says no other gods before me, these are disconnects. These are disconnects. You can't say that God left the Jewish people and that they're of no consequence and it's over and they're wrong when your own Messiah in the Christian sense comes from the same set of prophecies after that time. Because then you're saying, well, God's here then, and he's not here thou, and then he's here then, and he's not here thou. I just got to tell you on that one for the pastor, if God left the Jewish people and he said, to hell with you, at the fall of the first temple, right? Right? If he left the Jewish people at the temple, which this pastor preaches, and it was over for the Jews, why did he choose the Jewish people to, quote unquote, bring his son to life for everyone else if he wrote off the Jews? Even that one conflict timeline tells you God did not forsake the Jews. And you're just wrong. And you can't have it both ways. Hey, Stan, I got a song for you. Love you all.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no. Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone. Yeah. Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with a septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease. You fuck around and find out it's what it is. Jeffrey Pretty was a Jewish homo. Started talking shit to protect a chomo. He was getting nicked when he pulled a gun. Bam, motherfucker, now you're gone. Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with a septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease. Fuck around and find out what that is.
You fight for free and fair elections, invented scan the ballots of kinematic artifact detection. You love our courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. You lead by God and always do what's right. In the battle for our nation, you lead the fight. We pray for your safety, the armor of God to protect you from all of us. Here's a thank you for all that you do. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. Jovan, you're a hero we stand behind. We're inspired by the fire